How to stand on stage when not speaking. Whoa, that's such a cool topic. I love that you typed this in. Here's the thing that we're going to talk about, which is so exciting, is that a lot of speakers don't realize that when they're on stage, or leaders when they're on stage watching another speaker speak, they need to figure out what to do, not only with their hands and their arms and their face, their body. Everybody has to do something while we stand on stage. And I've been on stages for decades, and so I'm excited to teach you about how you can do this effectively for every time you're on stage. So there's a power in nonverbal communication, as you're very well aware. Whether you're a speaker or the leader, somebody on stage has to realize that they're on stage. Unfortunately, lots of people forget when they've turned the mic over to somebody else, they're still in the public eye. And there have been a lot of situations where I've seen people that just completely ruined the speaker's opportunity because everyone was looking at the leader who didn't realize he was still either on camera or everyone was watching him. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, and how you can be awesome even when you're not even talking at all. You're just standing on stage. So I've taught this to leaders around the world, whether running a convention after introducing a speaker and standing on stage looking interested, or to church leaders who sit on a podium in front of everybody else while there's somebody speaking and it looks like they're falling asleep. There's all kinds of challenges with this. And what's cool about it is that you're interested in making it so that you're not a distraction to the person that's on the stage who has their moment in the spotlight. So the first tip that I recommend is to look interested, even if you are not. That may sound obvious, right? But a lot of people forget that, yes, when they've turned over the mic to somebody else, when someone else has the spotlight, everybody is still watching you. You need to look as if you're interested, whether you are or aren't. And when it comes to looking interested, that would be like this. So let's say I'm watching the speaker over here and I'm nodding. I'm going like that, like, yeah, good job. I want to feel like the cheerleader, and this actually helps the audience know how to respond to the speaker, because they're going to be looking at you, especially if you're in charge of the whole company or the convention. If you're the main leader in the congregation, that whole audience is watching how you respond and react. If you're sitting up there like this, that's a problem. They're then going to turn on the speaker. And so it's up to you to make that ambiance, to create with your body language something powerful for that speaker to succeed. So you already saw me do this, but I like to nod in agreement. I like to act as if what they're saying I'm agreeing with. If I don't agree with something, what I do is I just sit there with a nice, pleasant smile. It's not that difficult to do something like this, but we have to be cognizant of it, because if we're not, everybody's going to notice. I already made a little joke about this, but do not fall asleep. Now, obviously I'm doing this video standing, and a majority of the time when you introduce somebody to stage, especially in a corporate setting, you, whether you're the leader, the last speaker, or you're the master of ceremonies, and these are people I get to train as to how to stand on stage without saying anything, I want you to know that you cannot fall asleep. Now, that may not happen if you're standing, but I've seen it happen with people that are sitting. Now, if you're in a church situation and you are, let's say, the congregation leader, everybody's looking at you, you're sitting, it's probably been a long meeting, it might be warm in there, maybe you didn't have a good sleep the night before. Do everything possible to stay awake without it looking like you're trying to stay awake. That might be to move enough in your chair in order to not allow yourself to fall asleep. That might be counting things with your fingers. That might be running through lines in your mind about what you just said or what you're going to say next. Whatever you have to do to stay awake, go for it. Sometimes I just tell people, hey, you know what you can do real quick? Pull out your phone and check your bank account. You'll wake right up. The other thing a lot of people do when they're standing on stage, they don't know what to do, obviously, with their hands, and so they're not sure, so they fold or they hold like this, or they put them in their pocket. And then what happens is people start to rock back and forth. Now, this is okay if you're rocking a baby to sleep. And this can be okay in certain circumstances, such as everybody's looking at you because the guy just referenced you. Let's say they say, thanks so much for that introduction. And you just go, mm-hmm. So then it's kind of funny. but try your best not to rock. If you are having a problem because your blood flow or something is wrong in your legs, or you feel like you're going to fall asleep, you can bend your knees just a little bit, bend them up and down so that you don't pass out. The other thing would be to move your feet. You can move your feet front to back just a little bit in order to keep the blood flow and to make sure that you're not falling asleep standing up. But try your best not to sway back and forth. This is a problem for a lot of people when they don't have something they're talking about. So like I said, you could fold your arms, you could put your hands in your pocket, but you don't want to appear disinterested. What you do want to appear is as interested as possible. So you could keep your hands like this, or some people do that. People put their hands in their pockets, or I don't think you should stand like this while someone's speaking. Do you see? That kind of feels like bad body language. I would recommend, this is how I like to stand. I like to just put one hand in the other, and I just stand there very simply like this. I think that everybody has a certain pose that is comfortable for them. If you just stand there with your hands down, you look like I don't know, the Manchurian candidate. So just be careful, but you can consider yourself just standing there. Do something with your hands and put your thumbs up, clap, be ready to have your hands move. Putting your hands in your pocket can be okay as well, as long as you don't look bored. This one's kind of funny because it's tricky, but do not look at your phone. I know that that's weird to say, but a lot of people when they're on stage, if they don't realize that if they're looking at their phone, even if it's something important, this automatically looks like I'm bored. And so don't do it that way. Do all you can to not look at your phone. If you have an Apple Watch or something that allows you to have a notification, it's okay to check something real quick and look down and back, but do your best not to look at your phone. Now, if you're taking notes, yeah, we'll talk about that. But do all you can to not look at your phone or be distracted by it. We'll give you some other ideas as to how you can work around that. I'd also say don't talk to the person next to you, especially if you've just introduced someone and someone else is speaking. You can whisper something real quick, but you don't want to be like, don't be making jokes up there. It makes you look stupid. Even if you're with all the big wigs in the company, don't whisper to the person next to you unless it's an absolute emergency and you need to take care of something. It's better to whisper and see that guy run off the stage because of something rather than just whispering and it feels like you're talking about the speaker. This might seem really obvious, but I'd recommend not looking at the person's backside. This is mostly a problem when people are sitting on the stage and the speaker is standing next to them. And so sometimes I've seen where the people sitting are just looking straight over and it looks like they're looking at the person's butt. Bad idea. Just put your head up and look like you're looking up at the person. That's a really important thing. If you're standing there and you've just introduced a lovely female speaker and you're a male speaker and you're not speaking anymore, your eyes should be staying as high as possible. Do not look down and do not look up and down. Unfortunately, this happens a lot. Gets people in trouble without saying one word. So here's how I would get around that whole, what do you do if you need to write down notes with your phone? I would say be prepared enough to bring with you a pad of paper or a journal or some other way to make a notation, and you want to have a pen in your hand. If you just look like you're on your phone, then you look like you're texting. You look like you're distracted, even if you're taking a million notes for that person. This has happened for me before. And I have been distracted by taking notes for somebody and I was being filmed the whole time and people thought I was texting. So this is coming from experience. I'd say bring a pad of paper or bring a big iPad. Something so it looks like, and you have a big pencil, an Apple pencil, and then you're writing and it looks like you're taking notes because you're looking up and you're doing this. Even if you're taking notes on your little phone and you're looking up, people will still think you're just texting. It's a tricky thing. The other thing you could do is just have the full-on laptop wide open. And that's a great thing if you're sitting. If you're standing, that's kind of tricky. But when I'm standing right now, I can stand here and I can take notes and I can listen to the speaker right at the same time. The other thing is to take note of how other leaders do this when they're on stage. So the next time you're at an event and you're not speaking and you're sitting in the audience, notice how everyone else on the stage is watching the speaker. That will give you the fastest track to saying, I don't want to look like that when I introduce somebody. I need to pay more attention. I need to be cognizant of what I'm doing on stage when I'm standing there, not saying anything. Finally, there is an acronym for the problem with a lot of people's faces when they've introduced somebody and they're not saying anything. I don't want to say the full wording outright, but its acronym is RBF, resting B-word face. You know what I'm saying. Don't have that face that people are wondering why you look so upset. Don't have that face. Do your best to practice a happy face. And that seems like a simple fix, but for a lot of people, this is our natural state. Don't have that face when someone's talking. Have this face as best as you can. Now we're talking about standing on stage, but let's also talk about Zoom calls and meetings. Have you ever been on a Zoom call where you noticed that the leader turned it over to somebody else to speak, and now you can tell the leader is completely disconnected from the call? This is a real problem. As somebody who's been on camera a lot, I can tell you I have to practice making sure that I look like I'm interested, and I'm nodding my head as they're speaking, and I look like I'm taking notes. In fact, I'll even step back just a little bit and write. It's an interesting practice because then people realize, oh, he's taking notes on what they're saying. And I'll use a pad of paper and I'll hold it up even higher on a Zoom call so they see that I'm taking notes about what they're saying. Even in a Zoom meeting, you still have power and influence by the way that you stand, sit, face, use your face, your look, your eyes, your interest, nodding. All of these things we're talking about makes a difference even on a Zoom call and meeting. So what I would say to get through this really easily and quickly in terms of getting better at it would be to record yourself. The next time you're on stage, whether you're the master of ceremonies, or you're on a Zoom call, or you're in front of a congregation of people at church, actually record yourself. Watch the way that you respond to somebody while they're on stage. You can leapfrog over the way everybody else does it just by appearing interested and encouraging, and people will appreciate you for it. I'll never forget the time that I was introduced to the stage for a birthday party. It was a billionaire's birthday party, and it was at a basketball arena in front of over 10,000 people who were his friends, family, and employees. Now, usually I would be introduced to the stage and the person would leave. Not this guy. He was in his 70s, and he decided he wanted to sit on stage right behind me while I did my performance. This was a worst case scenario. There were empty chairs on the stage except for the birthday boy himself, a billionaire, the leader of everyone in the arena. And guess where the camera went while I performed? I could even see it on the big screen in front of me because there were thousands of people watching, and I could see myself like this, and the camera would pan down and show his face while he was sitting there. Here's what happened, however. Because I noticed this was happening and he was kind of looking around at everybody else, and he was kind of thinking about other things while I was performing right in front of him, I decided I just had to turn and continue to engage him. And so I'd ask him a question and everyone would laugh, and then I'd do some more and I'd say, this is so different to have him sitting right here, and then he would laugh and the whole crowd would laugh. I had to work him into the act in order to make it work for me. You don't want this kind of scenario, but if you are that guy, make sure to be sitting there clapping, laughing, watching, encouraging that performer, that speaker. Because if you're not, oh, they'll never forget it. My call to action to you right now is to do this. And I don't want you to offend your friends, but I do want this to be fun. I want you to send this to a leader or a speaker or an MC who needs to see this video. Send it as kind of like a side ribbing and say, hey, remember how you look the next time you introduce someone to stage. They're going to laugh about it, get a kick out of it. It'll be helpful and remind them about how they can be better on stage even when they're not speaking. And I hope this helps you to stand the right way even when you're on stage not saying a word.